is there sound?
Wait for a text. Maybe keep going and we'll see what I get.
Mike's
That
on.
would probably be the reason, because everyone had their mics on. At any rate, 6:03, we'll get started with the working session. Board committee reports. I guess let's just take one. The forest meeting?
Yeah, school forest, small committee meeting, very short, but I don't think there's a lot of updates except that the teachers are planning on doing a Bears in the Bog 2-day event again this spring. So. And nice. Using money from the school forest program for that.
Transportation costs.
For transportation.
And I don't know, whatever the board committees met. Any? Any other board committees meet? Other than finance, which is tonight, which she knows takes care of.
No.
All right, moving right along.
And then as long as you're doing that on board committees, you want me to just summarize briefly the 2 listening sessions that we did?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, in lieu of board meetings, we had 2 listening sessions since our last school board meeting, open to the public, but we didn't have them on a microphone or on a camera, just trying to get people to show up and be comfortable talking. Well attended, anywhere from 20 to 30 people at each meeting, a variety of staff, general public, school board were there, but all in all, I'm going to say good, just it's some maybe like I'm being optimistic. There were some heated stuff, but they're generally fairly respectful. We talked a lot about the budget cutting that's going on right now. I'm trying to get the school back in a good financial position moving forward. We talked about the staff cuts, what was appropriate, what wasn't. We talked about specific duties and how they're now being put back around the school in terms of reallocating responsibility. For example, the superintendent taking on some of the now departed buildings and grounds person's job, trying to just line things up. When I say departed, Seth's just fine, he just moved. And then different subject matter about stuff that wasn't getting cut, or at least wasn't feeling the financial toll as much. Again, I'm just being general and I can be asked more specific, but I think the end result was that there was a little more interest in a school-wide survey. We'll call it a climate culture, just in terms of how things are functioning here, what the public sees as appropriate, and in terms of these cuts, what the public sees as appropriate in terms of how we move forward, what the staff feels in terms of how the school is functioning under the purview of this school board. So there's a survey that's been created over the course of the last week. There's several people involved in that, did a nice job. That survey will be available on the school website this coming week.
Yep.
And
is that correct?
it's not there for the public to be chiming in on. It's there for
it's
a staff
employee
Yep.
survey. And what did we decide for a date? You're going to be talking about it, right? She'll talk about it when she does her board report.
Oh, okay, good. I don't mean to steal any of your thunder. All right, so we'll get more specifics on that and to a microphone when we have that board report from Jill Olson. So I will leave that at that. But anyway, just so people know that there were a couple of public meetings held that were not microphones. So.
Okay, anybody else? I think that does it for board reports. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
So I'll start off with the enrollment report for March 2024. We're at 428 total students for K-12. That's down 1 student since the end of February. 4th grade went down to 36 students. We lost 1 student there. We gained a student in 7th grade, and we lost a student in 11th grade. So we're down 1 student. The calendar committee met a week ago. and it's in your board packet for approval. There's not much we can do with the calendar when we don't start until after Labor Day, and we want to be done by the end of May. So there's not a lot of wiggle room. Few changes, in-service open house, as in previous years, will be the last week in August. First day with students is on September 3rd. Last day with students on May 23rd, which will be a half day for students, and graduation that evening. One thing to note, we didn't do it a couple years ago. We did a no deer day that first Monday in November in order to allow a day off in March for students, which will be an in-service on March 24th. We eliminated the deer day in November. And I know that'll get mixed results from people on pros and cons. Otherwise, we felt, the committee felt that, especially in March, that time of year, to go without one longer weekend for students, it's tough on kids, so.
Who's on that committee, Jeff?
Board members are Lynn, Mary, Sam, we have Matt Grover, Sarah Pearson, Muriel. Who's from the elementary, I'm trying to think. So, I can get you a list of who it is, but it's a mix, it's staff,
It's mostly
administration, mostly staff.
staff. Go there to listen, basically.
Yep.
I don't have much input. They set their own calendar.
So,
Thank you.
yep. A few staffing updates. The layoffs that we were going to decide on today have pushed till April. We'll have ULAs, or unrequested leave of absence, and non-renewals presented at that April board meeting. Unrequested leave of absence is for staff that have continuing contract or tenure. It does provide for a hearing within 14 days if the employee requests it. Provides callback rights for 5 years for positions they are licensed in. And the employee must file a request for reinstatement each year by April 1st. Non-continuing or non-tenured staff will receive a non-renewal. And there's a number of people that have gotten jobs and resigned, so we'll, by April, have a good feeling on who and if we need to lay off actual people to make our budget reductions. We're still working on staff reassignments and MOUs and updating job descriptions with filling some of the positions within, like the buildings and grounds position, we're filling that within with several people. We're working on that. We'll have those finalized and ready for board approval in April. So we still continue to meet with staff. I just said that. Maternity leave is another informational one. I did get a request, and the teacher will be leaving about the last day of in-service is the expected due date. We'll see how that goes. And the planning is to come back, take the several weeks off in the beginning of the year and come back at the beginning of Q2 is kind of what she indicated. So we do not post maternity leaves or their letters in our board packet like we did in the past, because it falls under FMLA, and it's really not an approval thing. If they qualify, it's a right. So, but I just share that information. So, buildings and grounds. Been meeting weekly with Dale and Kyle. Still working on ironing out a few things, but overall I think it's going well. One thing that was brought to my attention is when we have sub coverage needed and we don't always have people available to sub. So example, if an evening custodian calls in sick last minute and we can't find a sub, usually Larry will do a few things and then Kyle will finish up and do a few things just to get things through that night. And you can get away with it maybe once, but a couple days in a row it gets tough. Kyle sent me his clicker, his miles. On a normal work day, he gets about 9 or 10 miles in. If he's got to do the coverage, it's over 16 miles that he puts in. So if we want to keep him healthy, and we don't want to do that. So I'm getting trained in, and if I have to sub in, I will sub in as I can. But we will be looking to try to get some more subs available, so especially those last minute things, so we don't wear out our current staff. We've scheduled a custodial meeting. All the custodial staff will meet on Wednesday, April 3rd at 3 o'clock in my office to go over a few things and get their feedback on how they feel things are going. And then I'd like the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and that would be the board members present, on Thursday, April 4th. If you can check your calendars, I'm thinking probably normally we do it at 4 o'clock, if that would work. Or if earlier would work, would be better.
4th? That's the showcase night from 4 to 6,
4 to 6.
I believe.
Okay, could we do a 3:30 or a 3 o'clock, and then you're in the building, you can go do the showcase?
That works for me.
Should be doable.
3 o'clock? Think that 3 o'clock would work? Sold? All right. Okay, any questions on any of that? It's been a learning experience for me, figuring out all the things that Seth did and what goes on with the custodians, so it's been a good experience to learn in depth what that department's doing, so. In your board packet, on the working session, I did include an SMS contract proposal. Our current contract ends on 9/30, no, that's not the right date. 9/30/24. Well, whatever, our current contract that we're under right now. Is 9/30/24 sound right to you?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the new one would start October 1st.
Yeah,
Okay.
the letter says.
All right. Currently, what we pay is a little over 97,602 to be exact. In Todd's proposed cost, there's a 3-year contract with proposed cost reductions for us. For 24-25, the rate would be 85,000, which is about a 13% reduction, and that's $12,602 less than what we're currently paying. The 25-26 contract would be 89,250, which is a 5% increase, and that's still $8,352 less than what we currently pay. And then the 3rd-year contract for 26-27 is $93,712. That's a 5% increase, and that's still $3,890 less than current rate. We've also can discuss looking for a in-house person to take over the business manager. That's an option that the board needs to consider, whether we want to advertise and see if we can find someone that we feel could fit that bill. There was one other contract service in the state of Minnesota, and the name escapes me, and I didn't put it in my notes, that I did inquire, and their reply to me was that they're not taking on any more schools for the upcoming fiscal year. So those
That
are
was something that kind of came up during our public sessions was, are we looking elsewhere? So
Yeah. So we have options that we could look at. Nothing is going to be decided tonight. We have some time to look at options and
the option would be SMS or
advertise.
for a staff,
Yep.
right?
Yep, that would be our employee. So pros and cons to both.
Why are we seeing a reduction? Was there a rationale for that?
Just discussions on how things panned out this year, and rectifying some of those things. I think it was how that came about, so.
And when you put a contract proposal out like that now, are you looking for action on that? I mean,
No,
it's not like this is coming with a stale date on it, this offer?
No, we have time to,
We would want to make a decision probably by summer.
I
we're
would say,
continuing or
by May, we should, well, if not sooner, probably April, we'd probably want to decide, are we gonna at least advertise to see what's out there? That would be the next step, is to decide if you want to.
And then, is there, like models of what other districts are doing? Like some do some in-house, but they outsource certain services to SMS, or are there pieces that we pick up? I don't know if that would be a cost savings at that point.
Well, yeah, like, is it an all or nothing?
Yeah, because Sheena, did you say that SMS does like payroll or something for iCalls or? I don't see
Yeah, there's pieces of that you can do.
Pieces, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So right now, Sheena's taken over all of the payroll duties, so.
Yeah, like HR is a separate component. Like the contract is adjustable, so if you look down, you can choose what percentage of assistance you need or eliminate some things.
Is that in the packet?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, this would be in the working session.
It would be in the working session. Do you post them in two different files? So look in the working session. It's not as.
So I guess, yeah, if you're actually gonna go out for services, like hire, that would have to happen sooner than later.
Or by October.
Yeah, we'd have to have something in place by
I mean, you
October.
want somebody kind of getting trained in, even, you wouldn't want them just starting.
Yep.
Is this something the finance committee is looking at for this year?
We can.
Yeah.
We didn't discuss it
Probably be a
today,
good
but we
idea.
have in the past.
So we could have a committee meeting before the next board meeting and come with a recommendation. We'll schedule a time.
And I look at just, if we hire, what's it gonna cost to get somebody
Mm-hmm.
with benefits and all that, what's a package deal cost, 'cause
Okay. Do you want to schedule a finance meeting now, or I'll send an email tomorrow or the next day?
Whatever works.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, go ahead and send this
Okay.
proposal.
So we'll schedule a time just for the committee and then.
That sounds good.
Okay.
I appreciate the low cost that he proposed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The school board working session that's been advertised, and that's with Seth and Ellers on April 2nd at 8:30, and it'll be in this room. It's strictly informational. There's no board action. It's kind of continuation of what Matt Hammer gave, kind of the high altitude look at options. We're including Brent from Widseth as well. So you get to meet them. If you have questions, if you get them to me before we meet, I can get that to them. We'll have an agenda. But they're just going to kind of give you kind of another, here are your options. Here are the specific dates. This is what we need to have done by certain dates. Basically by our May board meeting, if we're going to do a November election, we should, at that meeting, have all our ducks in a row, because there's a process that we have to follow. So this is just informational. It's open to the public. Planning on trying to stream or record the meeting, because it'll be in Zoom, and sometimes when you stream it, and they're putting stuff up on the screen, it's hard to see it when we stream it. So we'll find a way to record it or something where it's open to the public.
Post those
Maybe
overheads.
we can post it or something.
Or post the overheads in advance.
Right.
Yep,
In advance.
that's what I was thinking, post them in advance. So then if anyone's interested, they'll have access to those to follow along.
Yeah. It's going to be a very general. It's
Right,
not
right.
specifics on, they might give you some high range dollar amounts that we might be looking at to ask and what the impact was. But a lot of it is so you understand what the role of Ellers is and what the cost will be for running this through with Ellers, and also with Widseth, what their role will be and what they can offer to help us get through the process, so you can have it informed. And I'm hoping to get a hold of Eric at the county and see if he can send me any cost estimates on what it would cost to run the referendum. So, any
So
questions on that?
that meeting on Tuesday, you would expect to last like less than an hour? Is that what you're thinking?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too early to get into the weeds and fine details. It's just kind of so we all have an understanding on the direction we're going and the steps we need to take.
What type of referendum we would select.
Yep, or what kind of questions, there's, we could go for 3 questions, and so. The building, we have the Easter spring break coming up. We're gonna close the building at 6 p.m. on Thursday. I've talked to the daycares, it'll be done by 5, the ones that are open. And it'll be closed through April 1st. We don't have anything scheduled in the building. I talked to Woody, he'd rather not come in on Saturday unless he's needed, so a little bit of a cost savings there, thank you. But we're gonna close down the building over the Easter break, so. And the last thing I want to talk about is our community support, especially during difficult times. I'm always amazed how when things happen in this community, people show up. And unfortunately, we've had an example of that not too long ago with a loss. But it's just restores my faith in humanity when people just come out of the woodwork to support and take care of each other, because that's what we need to do, especially in a small community. We need to take care of each other. So I just want to, and I'm not going to go with lots of names because I'm afraid I'm going to forget someone. But like our local social services staff showed up, and they also brought, they have a regional crisis team with people from Stellar. They spent a couple days in this room and out with people, staff and kids. So thank to them. Northland Counseling from International Falls. They have a couple staff in-house. They brought 5 or 6 staff from their International Falls office. And they spent their day here with us, helping out. Our local ministerium came in full force. And they spent several days in here, and even now we're still connecting with some of the kids. So we wouldn't have made it through this time without them, so thanks to them. I received numerous calls and emails from superintendents and people at Brick that we work with. Even had a representative from Marvin's call and offer their services. So it's pretty cool how this community kind of takes care of each other. And then most importantly, our staff. Tough job to go into the classroom with stuff like that and take care of the kids, but our staff stepped up for our kids and for each other. So there's always a silver lining, and I think the people in this community is a huge silver lining. So I'm glad I did that at the end. So anything else? I don't know. Did I miss anyone or so? Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Administrative Assistant Jill Olson.
Hi. So I just wanted to give you a little update on just 3 topics. First, I want to talk about the smoke alarm project that took place to ensure that our daycares were up to code with the fire marshal and everything. Again, talking about the community coming together, because we got a lot of donations where donations covered the entire cost of everything that went into that project. So I wanted to make sure publicly we spoke about some of those people, and you're going to end up signing a lot of resolutions with those donations. But so the American Legion gave $1,000, but at Rotary gave $500. The Lake of the Woods Women of Today gave $500. CHI Lakewood gave $4,000. The Lake of the Woods Salvation Army, they're giving $500, and then Lake of the Woods County itself gave $3,472. So that covers the entire invoice, which I think is really nice. So huge thank you to all of those businesses. And all that information was in the working session packet. Jeff asked me to kind of touch on the paper reduction. The efforts we're trying to put into saving money in the offices. He kind of touched on last meeting. We're trying to go towards, a lot of invoices are emailed to us, so we're trying to not print those and just upload them. The smart system is really neat in that you can upload all the invoices, the requisitions, all the signatures, all that into the system, so then we don't have to be printing so much stuff. Our lunch menus, breakfast lunch menus, we're no longer gonna send those with the students home each month. We were printing for K through 5 and including the preschools, lunch menus, so we're not going to do that anymore. It's all online, and I tried to put on the website, explain it as best I could, but parents can go online, they can look at it, they can click on it, they can print it at home if they want, so all of that information is still available. It still goes on Facebook weekly. I think Lisa's been putting it on there weekly, the lunch menu for the week, and then, so we're going to reduce that way. Tracy and Diane are doing a lot of email notifications now. Some of those things are like the missed day letters. Tracy told me that letters are required to go out for 5 days missed, 8 days missed, and 10 days missed. So she said that includes anywhere from 2 to 12 letters a day, and postage is quite high right now as well. So those are all being emailed. Detention notices are being emailed. Progress reports are being emailed. Monthly enrollment reports that Diane gives all of us in the office, those are being emailed. I think everyone saw an announcement go out that the report cards are going to just be on Synergy this time, that teachers are not going to be printing those and sending those home. So that's a cost savings, and that goes through the elementary as well. So that helps there. And transcripts, so there's requests for alumni, put in requests for transcripts, so we are now charging if they need that printed and mailed to them, $5 for that. So we're trying to do the best we can in the offices, but so those are some of those updates. Do you guys have any questions on any of that?
Do you think you're getting feedback about like accessibility or things like that from parents that maybe don't have?
Hopefully, I would think, well, people can reach out to Tracy anytime. So if there's a special need where someone does need it printed, we can accommodate that. But for the overall, we'll just, which is a great point, that, so if you do hear anyone say, hey, I wish it was still printed, or I don't have internet access, just, they can let Tracy know, and she'll get that information to them. Okay, and then our staff climate survey. So the district cabinet committee got together from feedback from the community that one of the ideas was to survey the staff to get a gauge on how they feel their climate is what we're calling it anyway. So the focus is to gauge the culture and well-being at Lake of the Woods School. So this survey is only going to current staff. So it's not going out to the general public for anyone to comment. This is just to get the staff's feedback and take on it. The survey is anonymous, so no one will ever know who has submitted any of this information. And then, so I'll collect all the data, but I won't be able to see. We made we triple checked that nobody's email is gonna be attached to the survey. Okay, and I'm not techie enough to go in and be like, I'm gonna search up the IP address. No, I'm not gonna do any of that. So it's totally anonymous. And then the data will be combined and then given to the superintendent and the board members, so you can kind of get an idea of how the staff are feeling. So there's 5 sections. There's, and I'll give you one example of a question in each section. So section 1 is a workplace safety section, and one of the questions is, or statements, I feel I can freely voice my concerns and or questions about workplace safety at my job, and then participants can choose strongly agree, somewhat agree, neither agree nor disagree, somewhat disagree, and strongly disagree. So there's about 5 questions related to workplace safety. And then at the end of each section, there's an option to add any comments or explanations as to why a certain statement was answered the way it was. Section 2 is peer relationships. One of the example ones for that, I feel that my coworkers put the needs of the team above their individual needs, and then they can strongly agree, somewhat agree, neither agree nor disagree, somewhat disagree, or strongly disagree. And let's see, the next section is supervisor relationships. One of those sample questions, I view my supervisor as being in touch with the needs of employees. And again, strongly agree, somewhat agree, neither agree nor disagree, somewhat disagree, and strongly disagree. There's a job satisfaction section, one of those examples. How often have you actively looked for another job over the past year? And people can choose never, twice this year, monthly, weekly, daily, to get a gauge on that. And then the final section is kind of a survey conclusion, and these are kind of like short answers. The 3 questions there. What activities or happenings do you feel have been beneficial to the workplace climate? So they can answer that. What ideas or suggestions do you have to improve the workplace climate? And then are there any topics or questions that have not been asked that should be addressed? So hopefully we do get a good idea from the staff of how they're feeling their workplace climate is. And all of these survey questions, if the public wants to see them, it's all printed or online in the working session packet. So it's readily available to see there. I was hesitant to send it out to the staff today just because we do have Thursday and Friday off. So I didn't want it to end up getting forgotten and buried in email and stuff like that. So I'll send it out Monday, and then staff, I think we had agreed, will be given till like noon on Friday to get their answers in. So it's just going to be that week span. It won't be open forever. So.
One quick thing to add, and then you may have touched on it too, the questions were developed with union representation from the teachers and the different unions, and I was there, and Corinne was there, and there were a couple of others, Sam and a few other people. So the questions were not created out of a vacuum.
Right, and I did not create them all myself.
I want to say, there was really good input. I was very impressed about how everybody in that room contributed, and it was really nice.
Yep.
So I appreciate that from the staff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
To the principal of everything.
It still doesn't.
Just pre-K-12, no more additions. Good evening. MCA testing will be beginning in a couple weeks, April 9th through May 3rd. Our ACT is going to be on April 9th for juniors and seniors. And then towards the end of April, we'll have course registration. And this year, we're going to have our 9th through 11th graders in the auditorium. So teachers who have elective classes or the college level classes can have a face-to-face with the students to explain if there's prerequisites or what their class is about. So a little different format there. And then the week following that, we'll do online registration again. Last year was the first year we did that, and it worked very well. So we will do that again with the students. And then exciting elementary showcase and high school parent-teacher conferences are scheduled for April 4th. And we will be having a book fair that day and into the evening. So was finally able to connect with them, and they will, actually everything's supposed to arrive Wednesday, so ahead of schedule. So we will be set up for that, and typically they send flyers, so we'll send those home with the kids. And this year I asked them to send some upper level books, so there will be books for our middle school kids if parents want to, and the kids want to purchase those also. So it won't just be provided for just the elementary kids. Couple career things coming up. One is a career fair in East Grand Forks. On the same day, there's also one in Bemidji. The one in Bemidji is a career trade fair. So we will, the one in East Grand Forks, I already shared information with the kids and have a few kids signed up for, and the other one I just received information on, so we'll share that with the kids after Easter break. Sometimes if it's too far in advance, they sign up and kind of forget about it. And then prom is scheduled for April 27th. And I know Mrs. Storbeck has been working very hard on that with her junior class committee, so they are working on that. And just a note on the report card, so last week I sent a instant alert message out, and so if parents don't have email in Synergy, because we need that to be able to communicate also, and I think I hardly had that sent out, and Tracy had some parents communicating with her. So to me that was very exciting that parents got the message and they got a hold of Tracy, so we can have that connection and they can get their activation key. So I'm hoping it'll be a very successful communication with them. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Do they go to the career fairs on their own, or do we?
We transport them,
So would
yes.
you send a bus to Bemidji and one to East Grand?
Well, it'll depend on how many sign up. So if only enough sign up, we might take a Suburban. But yeah, we provide transportation and a chaperone also.
How many kids do you expect to go? Or would you hope to go to each one?
Well, the one in East Grand Forks, I would really like it, honestly, if we could get like 20, 30 kids to go, because there really is a nice variety there. The one in Bemidji, I'd be very happy if we could get like 12 kids to go, because, and that one's really excited for kids that would be looking at a trade school, because they can actually work with concrete and do the mortar. They can... What else did they have? They had different kinds of machines and things that the kids could run. So I'm hoping we get some decent participation for that one. The one in Bemidji, I think, will be easier to get buy-in just because it is closer and it's just half a day. The East Grand Forks one, I mean, our kids always have to travel, so it's nothing new, but at the same time, when you have to leave at 6 in the morning and you don't get back till 5 at night, sometimes those are a little harder sell. So it's not so much the event is depending on how long to get the buy-in from the kids. Anything else?
What's the elementary showcase?
That is, okay, the biggest one that I can talk about is our 5th graders who do what they call the Wax Museum. And so every grade focuses on something else. The 2nd graders today were working on like creating your own candy bar. So every grade has a different focus that they have. 5th grade are in here with the Wax Museum, and then really it'll be going through the halls to the classrooms for everybody else. And then with our elementary, if you want a parent-teacher conference from 6 to 7, that is blocked out for scheduled conferences for them. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
How many kids will take the ACT?
Oh.
That number's got to be dwindling, isn't it?
That number is very dwindling, although this afternoon I saw students in the office with Diane getting signed up or getting information for it, so. I don't know, I wanna say 10, 12.
Does it still cost a student money?
But you don't necessarily really need it anymore, do you?
No, you don't.
To get into college or anything.
So, I mean, honestly, if kids know, and depending on where they're going, and if we already, what the criteria is, sometimes there just isn't a reason to take it when if they're gonna look at your GPA and say we're good to go.
I did read that the schools that had dumped it are now going back to it, so.
It was kind of a result of COVID,
Yeah.
wasn't it? I mean, that's when I didn't know if it was related. I mean, I kind of thought it was because it was about that same time, but.
And most colleges have like scholarship options of ACT score or
GPA.
GPA, same thing with like admission.
But it's not like you can waive your GPA or your ACT score on a flag and expect dollars out of it at this point.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have that, so if
If
there
you
is
take
an
it.
enhancement of money that you could probably argue, if not, at least eligibility.
If you have a lower GPA, let's just say 2.5, but you have a perfect 36 ACT, that would work in your favor.
I know, we had a,
Yeah, they think you're a
Introduction.
cheater. How does that work?
Minnesota State Moorhead, and it was a combination of GPA and ACT score, and they had some pretty substantial scholarships. Anything else? Going once? Going twice? Okay, guess we're on to business office.
Okay, so everyone has a copy of the Finance Committee meeting report. The budget was revised last month and everything's been input into finance. And the reports are a little bit different this month, a little bit more in depth, so I'll touch base on those in a little bit also. First, I'll go over our revenues. Our state revenues are at 55% received. Federal revenues, 103% received. Property taxes, 49% received. Local revenues, 94% received. Food service, 65% received. Community ed, 10% received. Total, all funds combined, we are at 48% received for the year, which is $4,508,221. I provided information on our grants for 2024. All funds are drawn and spent except for our Title 401. Our quarter 1 and quarter 2 draws were complete. We have $20,793.05 remaining, which will be drawn before the end of the year. We still have quarter 3 and quarter 4 to draw. For our expenditures, our salaries and wages are 56% expended, employee benefits 52% expended, purchase services 80% expended, supplies 66% expended, equipment 89% expended, community ed 55% expended. All funds, we are at 62% expended for the year, which is $5,787,906. And then I wanted to provide just information on the month of February alone. Jeff just put a stop to all unnecessary purchases, and we're really trying to watch our expenses for the rest of the year. Supervisors are getting monthly expense reports just to keep an eye on what their area is doing. So just for the month of February, we had $592,741.40 in expenditures and $740,839.42 in revenues. So in the month of February, we gained in revenues, which is great. In the month of March, I completed our retro, and now our payroll will be a little bit bigger each pay period for the rest of the year, I still feel that we're going to be profitable each month. So.
Even with the retro pay?
Yes, I mean, it's spread, like, we just completed, I believe it was around $18,000 for that retro payment back from July 1st, but now it's going to be a little bit smaller, included in payroll through the end of the year. So just the month of February, that was great, and it actually really helped the school district to run that retro in March, because February would have been a fairly tight month. So I'm just keeping an eye on what we have on hand. We haven't needed to use the line of credit with Border Bank, and Jill sends a payables list every week, so we just make sure that we're covered as far as funds goes, and we're keeping an eye on it. And so I feel comfortable now this month with how we're sitting, and I feel that we're just going to get better and better by the end of the year. So I did attach an expense summary for the entire school for the school board. I don't believe I've done that before, but it basically, each month the supervisors get their area, but now this, as a school board, you have the expenditures for the whole school by line item. So that's included in the 150-page packet also. But
That's in the board packet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'll just go over a few more updates from the business office. Just all employees received a copy of the wage scale, their wage agreement, and their retro pay calculation for hourly employees specifically. So their calculation just shows each pay period, how many hours they worked, and what the difference is for the whole year. So all employees received that. Last week, Mary Jo helped me get everyone's printed in envelopes in their mailboxes, so I couldn't have did it without her. It's a big task. Teachers will receive their first stipends on the 29th at the end of this week for the school board approved the $1,000 payment, so they'll receive their first half at the end of this week. And Valor Insurance has advised the school district to seek bids for our property, vehicle, and workman's comp insurance, so basically our entire package. We did seek bids last year just because they've indicated that with just the expenses, how much everything's gone up, that most places are seeing an increase in their insurance. So they told us we could see a 10% increase last year. We did see a 6% increase. So we got bids, went through that whole process. We decided to go through that process again this year. Just because we're making cuts, we want to make sure that we're getting the best possible rate. One thing we could do that would help would be just bump up our deductible too, but hopefully we don't see, hopefully we see under a 10% increase, I guess. One thing that will affect though is they said that basically the value or the amount per square footage of your building has to go up significantly just because the cost of everything, the replacement cost if something did happen. So I think that was pretty much it. So they sent me like a portal that I go in and I fill everything out. So I'm working on that right now. Then last week I had a meeting with the Northwest Service Co-op Minnesota Consortium. They help us with our health insurance bid process. So they did provide an update on rates, how the process will work, and what to expect. They indicated that most schools will see between a 0% and a 20% increase. On average, everyone's seeing about a 13% increase. We haven't received our rates yet. We have a meeting coming up. I don't think we have it scheduled though.
I don't recall.
I didn't
with
see
Mike,
it. I thought we did, but I don't think we did. So,
The plan must renew like July 1.
Yep. So the new plan will be effective July 1. So we'll meet with Mike at North Risk. We'll review our current plans, see if we even want to make some adjustments to help with the rates. We've done that in the past.
Yep, and
We could even seek bids again. I mean, it just depends on what they offer.
Yep, and I was at that meeting too, and one of the things they talked about, that it's almost getting unsustainable for schools and the co-op. So one thing that they're pushing is to look at getting a more like a statewide pool, so you have more people in the group. So it's not just us getting hit; it's across the board, and it's getting to that point that it's not sustainable.
So then, in preparation for the July 1st renewals, I'll be going through and updating our employee lists and who's eligible for insurance and at what percentage within our ease portal. That's where all the employees log in and they make their selections on what they want. And then submit it, and then we make the adjustments for July 1st, and then I'll set up new rate tables. Our rate tables were just adjusted for the new increases that were approved last month, so. And, so you have seen this just short revenue and expenditure summary, which is more compounded. We do have another one this month that includes, it's just a lot more detailed. So, you know, when it shows that what our state aid revenue is, it's broken down by each type, the total of all of them. And then as far as our federal revenue, it's broke down, and levy, what goes into our local revenues. And then the same occurs for all our expenditures, just by object code. So then we can see any different discrepancies if there are any. So, yeah, if you have any questions on that, just let me know. But I actually really like the new reports compared to the old ones, so.
I second that.
Yeah,
I like
I
these.
think they're great. Yeah. Any questions?
I have questions about stuff in the board packet.
Mm-hmm.
So folder checks that haven't been deposited yet.
yes.
And I know you've been working on it, but what's the threshold? So like if we see something that's 6 months old, or
You know, Jill does a really good job at keeping an eye on things, or, you know, if someone calls and they say, oh, we didn't get a check, so we had voided it, and Jill would just reissue it. But I just went through all the checks and voided a lot of old ones and just got them off our books. So most of them are 1 to 2 years. When I came in, usually each year we do cleanup and just get rid of the old. When I came in, there was a lot of cleanup. So a lot of old payments that needed to just be removed. So, Yep, so there's quite a few I included in the packet just for you to see.
So you try to do that annually, no?
Usually it's part of the audit process. We just want to make sure that there's old things sitting there.
yeah.
Or like sometimes they're duplicate payments. I know there was one for that AIM. It was for the scoreboard. There was actually 2 payments for $10,000. So I cleared that one out, but Jill does a really good job of keeping an eye on them, so.
Okay, thank you much. And that brings up Sam, Activities Director, Community Ed.
Hello. First on the docket are just finishing out our spring coaching hires. You will be approving Shayla Risser as our varsity assistant and junior high coach. We are at about 7 girls for a junior high team, so a young and new group to softball, but working hard to figure out how to get them a few games this year. I think the softball coaching staff and I feel really committed to, if we did not have a junior high team last year, and the longer we go without a junior high team, the more chance, or I should say the less chance, that you're trying to keep girls in the program. So Excited Shayla is on to kind of keep that ball rolling. And she's also assisting Katie as well. Hired Rylan Hendrickson for junior high baseball. Eric Tangy, that's not an approval, but he's coming back for junior high baseball. And then Sam Longseth for junior high golf. So we had hoped for an early spring. That has not happened. Womp, womp, but we will survive. I wanted to highlight ECFE and Jenny Kraus in the work that she's done for many years. Jeff, I don't actually know how many years she's been working in that position, but she's a coordinator, so she gets paid to run our ECFE program, which is early childhood, 0 to 4. It's different than our school readiness pre-K classroom. They are more event-based. Some events have some charge to them if there are supplies, others are free, and it's often a family event. So parents with their little ones come in and they take a cooking class or go to the pool or have an open gym night. This year is celebrating 50 years of ECFE as a program and 34 years of ECFE at Lake of the Woods. So I thought it was a significant moment to mark, both because of the program itself, offering support to our young families, but also celebrating Jenny Kraus and the really amazing work. The Storybook Trail out in the school forest is her creation. We had a grand opening for that this past fall, and then she's just finished up a series of Thursday evening events over the course of these last couple of months. Sledding, cooking, yoga and a movie, swimming, open gym night, she kind of does it all. She coordinates also big events. So we had a puppet troupe come in early in the fall. She does an evening for that. She does a costume party, things like that. So if you see her, give her a hearty handshake and a thank you, because she does an amazing job and serves a lot of people in our community. And then the last thing is my latest pet project that I really appreciate the rest of the world has jumped in on. I'm hosting a March Madness pool, March Madness being the college basketball tournament that's happening. So there's 64 teams on the women's side, 64 teams on the men's side. This was spurred by Caitlin Clark and she's from University of Iowa. She's been quite a phenom on the women's basketball side. And wanting people to really enjoy what March Madness is. It's this kind of wild phenomenon that anybody can partake in. You do not have to know anything about basketball. And we had 71 people submit brackets, a men's bracket and a women's bracket. So Tim and Deb and Sam Lyon have been correcting 140 brackets over the course of the last 3 days. Yes, I have employed my parents to get me through all of this. We gave out our first round of prizes today. We'll give out another round after the second round. And then there's a cash prize for the winner of the men's and a winner of the women's. It is not gambling because no one has submitted any money. I haven't gone around and collected money from kids, but it's been a fun way to engage with kids. Doesn't take them out of the classroom. It's open to 6th through 12th graders and all staff. So it's been kind of a cross-community thing. Mostly I'm doing it out of selfishness because I just think March Madness is super fun. So some good stuff happening, and I appreciate the rest of the school world humoring me. So thank you. Any questions on any of that?
I don't remember how many years, but she was Jenny Kraus.
Yeah.
She was here back when I started in the 90s, and then they moved out, and then they came back.
And she's done that her entire tenure?
Just besides that break.
Okay.
It's soon owner before.
Ask her. That's, I think, an important.
But she's been doing it for a long time.
I know, and she's good at it. She's very good. She's energetic and organized and does a great job.
And did you mention that she does the screening too?
Yes, and part of that is she does our preschool screening, so gets parents and kids in to do early development checks prior to kindergarten so that they can get any needed services. Coming up on April 25th and 26th, is that right? I'm looking at you, Nicole, because we just had that conversation. I've been screwing up my dates. I think it's the 25th and 26th. So, sorry, put you on the spot.
It's okay. I was like.
Anything else? All good? Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And now we're at the portion, that's it for our presenters. Anything from the citizens forum? Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll adjourn the working session and I'll take a 5-minute break and we'll start the board meeting.
Or I'm gonna give you a different description.
Oh, we don't have, oh, there's Brenda.
Okay.
All right, 7:08, we'll call the meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Microphones are on. Okay, need a motion and a second to approve the March 25th, 2024 meeting agenda.
I'll second it, Lyon.
Lyon, second. Alice made the motion. Any discussion? Looks like, I guess I considered additions to it, or were they always there? I don't know if we even need to mention that.
No, it was just moving Don Olson down. I guess the two additions would have been Rylan Hendrickson and Shayla
Yep.
under appointments.
So, with those additions, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Do we have any board presenters? Written communications. Old business. And that brings us into new business. I need a motion and a second to approve the February 26, 2024 school board meeting minutes.
Motion by Lyon.
Motion by Lyon,
Second.
second by Sonstagard. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. I need a motion and a second to approve the invoices, financial statements, bank reconciliation, wire transfers, and purchase card statement.
Make that motion.
Motion by Ellis,
Second by Lyon.
second by Lyon. Any discussion on those? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of personnel, resignations, retirements, and appointments. I need a motion and a second to approve the resignation, retirements, and appointments as presented. The resignations are Aspen Jaros, paraprofessional, Emily Pearson, special education teacher, Harley Poppets, food service coordinator, Zachary Ernesti,
Yep.
IT help desk assistant. The retirements are Don Olson, paraprofessional and maintenance. Appointments are Kirby Borgen, special education teacher, Rylan Hendrickson, junior high baseball coach, Shayla Russer, assistant softball coach. And that's all of it.
I'll motion.
Motion by Revita,
I'll second. Trask.
second by Trask. Any discussion?
So the resignations, I know we had this discussion at the open meeting, but about exit interviews, if there's a formality or an informality. I don't know how much we read off of our board packet, you know, what's HIPAA protected or whatever, but one of the people who are resigning acknowledged that they couldn't do their exit interview personally. They had too much of a schedule conflict or something, but there were electronic questions
Yep.
that were
And that
then
was sent,
submitted.
yep.
And is that pretty standard practice, like all these four people who are asking to depart will have some form of an exit interview, whether it's personal or electronic?
Yes, that's normal practice. Usually Harley, when she was here, would ask people. That was part of her job, so.
And has that always been the case? I mean, could you go back and I could find 10 years ago that we were getting exit interviews, or 20 years ago?
Probably not, no.
I mean, back then it might have been an informal situation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's more formalized the last few years, so. And some people decline, I mean, when they ask if they want to do one or not, so.
Well, one of the questions that came up in that open roundtable discussion we had over the last couple weeks was how many people resign, how many retire, and I think, and I've noticed this, but we always have resignations on these lists. I mean, whether it's one or three or four. Unfortunately, I think part of that is people are finding there's more money elsewhere in the world than in the public school system, unfortunately, but, and for other reasons, but it's important that we get at least their opinion on the departure as well, not just the ones who are currently employed, so.
What kind of response rate do you get, do you think? Like half? I mean, you don't have a lot of control. They don't,
No,
you know.
I wouldn't be able to answer that, because usually unless they bring it to my attention, they fill it out and,
So if it was for a custodian, does it go to their supervisor?
yeah. If they fill one out.
And if they're honest on it.
Yeah.
Well, people don't like being negative.
Well, we're not in the habit of reading these resignation letters, and I'm not suggesting that. I just did read, like Dawn Olson's, and I appreciate the positivity that came out of the letter. So.
Yeah, that was her resignation letter. It certainly could be board policy if you wanted to see all exit interviews, and, I mean, we could make it more formal. I mean, that's
Well,
something
there'd
to
be
think
some I'd
about.
be curious on, as opposed to wanting to see all of them necessarily, but again, there are some positivity there as well. I mean, it sometimes sounds, you know, like, oh, people are jumping off the boat or unhappy with something or whatever, and that's not always the case. They're moving on to better things or other things, or just moving. I mean, I think you have a...
Yeah, I think there's other districts too that are seeing more teachers leave mid-year. I mean, and we've seen it here, and there's a number of reasons why people would leave mid-year, so. But
Any more discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Oh, wow. Need a motion and a second to approve resolution 2023/2024-26, accepting a donation of $1,000 from the American Legion as a donation to the Lake of the Woods School for the daycare fire alarm modification project.
Motion by Lyon.
Second by Rabina.
Lyon, second Robita. Any discussion? Thank you very much, American Legion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023/2024-27, accepting a donation of $500 from the Rotary Club of Baudette as a donation to the Lake of the Woods School for the daycare fire alarm modification project.
Motion by Lyon.
Lyon,
Trask, second.
Trask. Any discussion? Thank you, Rotary Club. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023/2024-28, accepting a donation of $500 from the Lake of the Woods Women of Today as a donation to the Lake of the Woods School for the daycare fire alarm modification project.
I'll motion.
Motion by Robita,
I'll second.
second by Sandstegard. Any discussion? Thank you, Women of Today. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023/2024-29, accepting a donation of $4,000 from the CHI Lakewood as a donation to the Lake of the Woods School for the daycare fire alarm modification project.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
Second by
Sandstegard, second by Lyon. Any discussion?
I would just like to emphasize what Jeff already said, but it's just nice when the community steps up. They saw a need, they stepped up. Good deal, it's the way that should work. Thank you.
And thank you, CHI Lakewood. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve the pre-K through 12 principal contract.
I'll motion. Rabina.
Motion by Robita,
Second by Lyon.
second by Lyon. Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve the Achievement and Integration Budget 2024/25 school year.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ellis,
Rapito, second.
second by Robita.
Didn't it sound like Don Corleone made the motion?
It did. I will do this for you, but someday I may ask a favor.
Careful.
And beyond that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we need Ellis to make more motions or seconds or something? Need a motion and a second to approve the 2023-24 staff seniority list.
Motion by Lyon.
Motion by Lyon,
I'll second.
second by Sonstgarden. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Is that a routine moment, that staff seniority list? That's a once-a-year event?
That's every year,
Yep.
yeah.
And generally, there's just no hang-ups on that, is there?
We had to do some cleanup. There was some confusion with
I
some
remember one
hires
once in a
where
while. Yeah.
the hire date needs to be the date that they start employment, not the date that the board approves it. So there's a couple of them got a little wonky because we posted and hire a position in June, but it actually wouldn't start until August. So we cleaned up some of those things, and Jill did a nice job of that. And you'll see that we've included all the signatures on it. We had one master one, so this is kind of resetting our base as far as seniority, so.
How does that work in the case of an appointment, like for Kirby, for instance, where he's changing roles? Is that?
And then we do a little asterisk in there and put that date. But still, because it's within the unit, his original hire date would not change. So when they go outside their unit, so if he's still within the teacher contract.
Yeah.
So usually that's how it works. If it was
You're outside
buildings
the
in,
unit.
I'm not in a unit.
No, but you changed units, but
Yeah.
you still end up at the top of the seniority list.
Yeah.
Or at whatever level you're at.
Because, which one are you talking about?
Well, I think that was your question, when you changed out of a unit, but your seniority still progresses along with you.
Yeah, but if you change a unit, then it would be, like if he took a custodian position, then where the custodians are listed, his name would be there and.
You have a different hire date for that.
Different hire date for that, so,
Different contract,
yeah.
is what you'd fall under.
And technically, the tier 1, tier 2 staff are actually on a different list because they don't have seniority. So, and we only have a couple of those, so.
Okay, just to be complete, we'll redo that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve the 2024-25 school year calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Trask,
Second by Lyon.
second by Lyon. Any discussion there? We're gonna upset people? You took away Deer Monday again?
So the alternative is to go.
I heard Jeff,
Mr. Grover was on the committee.
I heard Jeff Nelson took away Deer Monday. What but I hear Jeff Nelson took
No,
away Deer Monday.
It doesn't put as much emphasis.
Okay, to be clear, it was a committee that did it. It wasn't Jeff Nelson on his own.
Those kids will just stay home anyways.
But you still have a couple of days there in late May to accommodate for snow, if we ever get to that point. But is that a extinct animal, so to speak, the snow day?
I think so, with the e-learning.
I mean, because we have now an unlimited number of e-learning days, don't we?
No,
No.
5.
How many do we got?
5.
I thought they upped it. I thought the state had allowed that to get,
I think
I don't think so.
1 year, didn't they? Like,
it's just 5, huh?
It's fine.
yeah.
I thought it was like North Dakota who had like an outrageous amount last year.
I know that in previous winters, I have a friend that lives in Morris, and she's like, we've had more school days than they've ever had, so. Like, but not this year, but like a couple winters ago.
Lots of snow days.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 team, that's all we get.
Okay.
So digression was my fault. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023/2024-30, accepting a donation of $100 from the American Legion as a donation to the Lake of the Woods School for the backpack program.
Rapida motions.
Motion by Robita,
Second by Lyon.
second by Lyon. Any discussion? Thank you again, American Legion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023/2024-31, accepting a donation of $50 from the American Legion as a donation to the Lake of the Woods School for the Ticket to Read program. Motion by Sonstegard,
Second by Lyon.
second by Lyon. Any discussion? Once again, thank you, American Legion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023/2024-32, accepting a donation of $500 from the Lake of the Woods chapter of the Salvation Army as a donation to Lake of the Woods School for the daycare fire alarm modification project.
Make that motion.
Motion by Ellis,
I'll second.
second by Sonstegard. Any discussion? Thank you, Salvation Army. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023/2024-33, accepting a donation of $3,472 from the Lake of the Woods County as a donation to Lake of the Woods School for the daycare fire alarm modification project.
Rapida motion.
Motion by
I'll second.
Beta, second by Sonstegard. Any discussion? Thank you, Lake of the Woods County. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Other business.
Actually,
What?
I think we should acknowledge, the service that, I don't think we did, but the 4 people who resigned for their, thank you for
Okay,
their
yeah.
service to the school.
Yeah, we'll go back and,
Just make that acknowledgement.
thank you Aspen Jaros, Emily Pearson, Harley Poppets, Zachary Ernesti, and for retirement, Don Olson, and the rest of them are being appointed, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I guess that was just information concerning the leave request. And now we will be going into a closed session, and we don't have to, do we have to reopen it to close the meeting, or are we closing the meeting now, and once we close the
You
closed
close the
session?
meeting, then you open the meeting and you adjourn the meeting.
Okay,
Do we have to do the summary thing then?
The summary of the evaluation is presented at the next open meeting on April 22nd.
So basically, we'll be done, if people, for people in the room.
We'll open it, adjourn, and then it'll be on the
Okay.
summary statement will be at the
Yep.
next board meeting in April.
That's our next board meeting, right?
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Just making sure it was another calendar date I had to put in.
okay. In that case, I need a motion and a second to close the meeting for a superintendent evaluation pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05, subpart 3A.
I'll make that motion.
Second by Lyon.
Motion by Ellis, second by Lyon, and that occurred at 7:27.